Okay, so today's class, what we will do is we'll discuss the style sheets. We'll not discuss about the style sheets. Sorry for that. I'll not be talking about the style sheets today. Alright, so, no, we'll talk about forms. We'll talk about the forms now. What is a form now? Generally, we use a form to collect the data. Okay, to collect the data from user. Maybe example, let us say you have you might have seen many of forms you might have heard of, like one of the things like what you call application form, right? Or let us say that you want to open a Gmail account. Okay, I want to open a Gmail account. So what the Gmail will do for us, what the Google will do, it collects, okay, your information first. Okay, or what you call the data, right? It collects your data. Okay, so for that collecting your data, what the Google will be doing is it has designed the form for us. Now this is where our form design works for us. Okay, or let us say you have the application. Now application form you're having it, right? Or any other different types of forms you are having it. In all these things we are going to use what you call the forms, you are going to use it. So basically we are going to use the forms to collect the information from the user. So whenever you want some information or some data to be collected from the user, you're going to define the forms. Now, so in our HTML, so we have different tags are available for the form designing. So what is the basic tag we have is we have a tag called form tag. We are going to have it. Now, it has the opening form and it has the closing form. I mean, tag is there, opening tag and closing tag, both we are having it. Okay, so in this tag we'll be using, okay, we will use different types of elements, will be using it. So different types of elements, or what you call them as controls, we also call them another word called controls. We use different types of controls or different types of elements, will be using it, okay, for the form design. Now, so what is this, what do you mean by this different types of form elements, or what you call different types of controls means? We'll take one example. We'll see one example. So let us say that I'm going to have a form design now. Okay, so let's say you talk about the Gmail itself. Okay, we'll take some form example. We'll see. Yeah, I have different forms over here. Okay, this is one form. So this is one kind of form it is. Okay, so where you're going to get the, so user information, we are going to get it, all the office details is going to be there like this. Or so, or you might have heard about the biodata form and all. So let us say this is one. So here I'm having some format is going to be there, some biodata format. So something like this forms I want to design. So when I want to design this kind of forms and all have to be designed, so we'll be using what you call the form tag. We'll be using it in our HTML for us. Now, when you talk about this kind of form design, so here what you're using now, what you call the surname, first name, you're seeing, right? So this is what you call a text area, like what you call, we call them as a different types of elements, we call it as. Okay, we'll see one registration form. We are not getting any example outputs. Okay. Here is an output. Okay.
Voice call from Harish CSE Pin.
Okay. This is a small form which I'm talking about. Like here, for example, you see one small, this kind of control. This is called a text box. It is called. This is also a text box. This is called a text box. Now this is called a drop down. You call this one as a drop down. We call it as. Here, these three are called the text boxes. We call them as text box. Now this one, what I am going to have here, this we call it as a combo. So we call it as a combo box. So you call it as a combo or you call it as a drop down. So these three are there, right? So this is called a radio buttons. They are called the radios. Okay, radio button like that. So different types of control. These are what we call them as a controls. So this is called, right? This is called one control. This is called another control like that. So 3, 4, 5 multiple controls are there for us here, right? Okay, like so, like this kind of controls you want to design, or what you call the different this type of elements you want to design. So we are going to use the form controls. You are going to use it. Okay, we'll see this one by one. We'll take up. So let me clear the annotations. Yeah. Now, so we'll talk about the kinds of controls. We have different types of controls. We call them as text box. We call it as. Okay. Uh, right. We have radio buttons. In text box, again, we have different types of text boxes we have. So we have the normal text boxes, we have the password controls, okay, like that. Then we'll talk about the radio buttons. We'll discuss what is this radio button. We have checkbox are going to be there. Checkbox controls, we have it. Right. We have the combo box combos, or we sometimes some people call them as drop down. They're also called the drop down controls or drop down elements. Okay, we have list controls, right? So we have the list controls are there, combo boxes there. Okay, so we have the buttons, we have it. So we have different types of buttons, we have it. One is called normal button. Then, so we have reset button. We have submit button. So like this, different types of buttons we are having, button controls are there, right? So we have the multi-line text box, which we also call them as a text area. Okay, we call it as a text area, we call it as. So like this, depending upon your requirement, you can have different types of controls can be designed and you can have them. Okay, let us see how we do it. The form designing, how we are going to do it. Let's see them. As usual, so when I'm talking about my HTML, let me save my HTML page. So I'll save as, okay, I'll give a file name called c1.html. I'm giving it. Right. Now, so here I'm using the exclamatory mark and tab I have pressed. it's going to do all this. So title, I'm defining it as my form design. Any title can be given, no problem in that. So here we are going to have the form tag. I'm having the form tag. Automatic closing, it's going to take care of it. No issues for this. Then I want to have in the form tag, I'll be making the table design. I'm making use of it. So what is an advantage of using the table design inside this means? So here what happens is your design looks better for us. What do you call the alignments and all will be good for us. Okay, the alignments and everything will be good. So that's why you will be using a table inside the form there. Okay. So I want to now let us say that you want to design a form. So just now we saw an example. Let's say where you want to have the uh, you want to collect the student information that you want to collect. So let's see what we want to do with. Now I'll use an H1 tag for the heading now. Now I'll say it's a student information. So I want to collect the student information. Now when you talk about the student information, what are the data that you will have for a student? So for example, a student, okay, studying in a college, right? So in a college now I want to have it. Now what we say is what we want to have the hall ticket number. What is the name of the student? Okay, what is the gender part? Okay, so what is the date of birth? What is the email ID? Right? Address. Like this information I wanted. Now this hall ticket number, it is called text type of data. So this is going to be text type of data. Now what about the name? Name also will be the same. So we call it as text. This is also text for me. Okay, what do you call it? It's a free form text, we call it as. That means you can type anything. Any name can be typed or something like that. Now when I talk about the gender, so for genders I'll be using radios. So radios means what you, where I want the option to be selected only one. That is only one option to be selected. So I want only one option to be selected. Then what I'm doing is I'm using a gender there. I mean, sorry, radio button I'm using it. Now what about my date of birth? So here the type of information is date here. The type of information here is date for me. Similarly, so we talk about the email. So email ID. So this is an email information. We'll discuss how we create all these different kinds of controls. We'll discuss. Then I'm having address is there. So address is a text area. I will be using it. So that is the multi-line. I want the data to be typed in more than one line. Then we call it as a text area there. Now, for these form designs, in our HTML, we have different types of tags are available for us. So we have different tags are available. So what are the tags that we have it? Now we have one tag called input tag. We have one tag called input. So this tag called input will help me to design the text boxes. For example, so this input tag is there, right? So for this, we have the option called type. Type is equal to, you'll be defining the type of tag here. What is the type of tag that you want to design? Then we use the name. Okay, the name will be using it for the control. It's a name of the control. Right, then we also use the id is equal to id of control, id of the control. Then depending upon what type of you're going to define it, so you may be having, okay, we also have value is going to be there, then we'll be using some value. And there are so many different attributes are there for us, so which we talk about one by one. I'll talk about now. As I told you that, so input type is equal to type of the tag we are going to write. Now what is the type of the tag now? So what is the type of tag that I want to have? Now let us say I want to have a text box to be designed. Then we'll be writing input type is equal to text, will be writing it. Now if I want to design a password character or what you call password field I want to design, then we are going to write input type is equal to password, will be writing it. So type, I'll explain you one by one, I'll show you. Then if I want to have date to be displayed, so if I want the user to enter the date values, then I'll be typing input type is equal to date, will be writing. If you want the user to enter the email ID, then we'll use input type is equal to email. If you want to enter some numbers, okay, let's say for example, let's say something like age or your mobile number, that's a phone number, okay, like this you want to have it, then we'll say input type is equal to number, will be defining it, right? My voice is okay? Input type, you'll be defining it. What is the type you want to have it? Based upon your requirement, you can have the different types, you can define it here. Okay. Now, example, let us say, so I want to define a text element. I want to have to define a text box. So what I'm doing, I'm writing input type is equal to text I'm writing, and then I'll write name is equal to. So for example, let us say this text box you're using it for getting the name of the student. So I'll say the name called st name, and then I'm using ID also. I'll use it as same as ID name, st name I'm using it. Okay. So when I'm using like this, so what will happen? It is going to create a small text box is going to be created for us. Okay, it creates a small text box. So where you can type the name of the user. Now we are using two attributes here. One is called name attribute, other one is called the ID attribute. So what are these two things which there? Now remember the name attribute used at the server programming. This is used at the server side. Okay. Now ID is attribute. This we are going to use it the client side coding or client side scripting, you call it as, right? For the client side coding or client side scripting, we are going to use the ID. So what about the name attribute you are going to use? Name attribute is at the server side scripting, you are going to use it. Okay, we'll take these examples. As we take the examples, you can understand so why we are using all these things. Okay, the ID, what is the use of this ID, what is the name of this name attribute, okay, that we'll discuss. What is this, these two both represent for me? So these, either you talk about the name or you talk about the ID attribute. So these two attributes we are going to use for the identification. It's like this. Okay, they are like the identification. That means I'm having different controls, different text boxes are there. Let's say in one text box your type, okay, and the name itself is there. I want to divide the name into three parts. You want to divide, so like what you call the surname, first name, middle, last name, middle name, like that you want to divide them. So when I'm dividing them, so what data that I have typed in the first, maybe what you call the first name what you have typed, second name what mean the middle name what you have typed, last name what you have typed, in surname what you are typing. So like this, I'm going to have 3 or 4 different text boxes are going to be there. So what data you are typing in surname what you are typed, first name what you are typed, like that I want to know. Or let us say that you are having 2 different text controls there. One is a normal text control, the other one is a password is there. So where you have typed the password. So for that identification purpose, I'll be using the name for each and every control. It is something, the concept is similar to the what we call them as a variable names. Okay, what data where you are going to store it, to find out that will be using the name or the ID attribute you are going to use it. We'll take one example, then we can understand much better. So what we are talking about. Okay, right, we'll go back to now the HTML page. Now here I want to have the coding has to be done. So now first I want to give the name of the user to be typed in. So then I'll say student name. I want to read the name of the student, right? So what I'm doing is I'm trying to have this type of data, right? Okay, name, hall ticket number, gender, like this I want to have it. Okay, so first I'm taking the name. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking a table now, which is going to have two columns for me. One is called the student name. It's a text it's going to display for me. Okay, the next to it, I want to have an input text box. I'll take. Okay, I'll type the input type. I'll say input type is equal to text I'm writing. Then name is equal to, so S name I'm writing. Okay, done. So, okay, after this, I'm using one more attribute called size attribute there. First, we'll see what is the size it's going to come for me. Then we'll discuss more on that. I think we are not use the TD here. Okay, I'm using a new table data there. Okay, let me save this. So we have used a file name called c1.html. So it is available for me in the, okay, right. I'll just open this c1.html file I'm selecting and say open. HTML student name. Wait, it's not. Okay, so we have done a mistake here. So in title, we have opened the title, but title is not closed properly. So that's why it's giving me the output is not generated there. Okay, I'm just closing this properly. Then I'll refresh my page now. You can see that student information, this is the heading tag that we are used. And then this is a student name. So now, so this student name, what is there? Here you can type what you want. The name can be typed here. So for example, I'm giving some name there. Okay, now the data what I'm typing, it's visible for me. Now I don't want the data to be visible, so I want to hide the data. Okay, I'll use one more there. So that if, for example, I want to have some password like thing. So where we don't want the password to be displayed, we want it to be hidden. That is what the data that we are typing, that has to be hidden for me. So for that I'm writing input type is equal to password, and then name is equal to, I'm changing the name of it. So PWD I'm using it. Okay. So let me save it and then go back to my code and then refresh. Now you see here what I'm typing, it is not visible there. Okay, it is not shown to the user, but whereas here what I'm typing, it is visible to the user. So that's what we are doing. So we are trying to have input type is equal to text. When I say input type is equal to, that is going to be visible for the user. When I say input type is equal to password, if I'm saying, this will not be visible to the user. It's going to be in the hidden form for us. I mean the data whatever you're typing, that is hidden. Okay, like this. Now let me use this attribute. Now one more thing I'll just make use of. Now I'll just say, so one is I've taken the student name, the other one is password. Then I want to have the hall ticket number. So this is hall ticket number, or what you call it as a roll number. So okay, now I want to have the input type is equal to text. I am giving it. So when I say input type is equal to text, and then the name I'm using it as roll number, RNO I'll take. Let's see what is going to display for me. I'll just refresh the page. You see that such a big roll number is coming for me. Now here when I'm giving input type is equal to text, user can type the alphabet as well as user can type the number for me. Both you can type alphabet and number. It depends upon what type of data you are going to collect, how the data should be there. So either you want the roll number should be only numeric, you want it, you can define the only it as numeric. So if I want that roll number to be displayed as only numeric, then you'll be giving input type is equal to number. Okay, and one more thing, so here it is a very big size. Now I want to cut it down. Okay, the size I want to remove it. I want to shorten the size of my control. Then I'll say size is equal to I'll say some value 5 I'm giving it. So once I say the value is equal to 5, and then if you say refresh, now here it is going to show me the control there, but you can have this 5. Okay, the size is being defined as size 5 there, and then I'm just started typing it. So what happened? You see that it's going to show me the, okay, so it's going to be taken, some width is going to decrease for me, and then as you are typing anything, so what happened, automatically the rest of the data is going to move to the left for me. Okay, so that is one thing. So or when I'm typing in, so I don't want the user to type whatever he wants it or she wants it. I don't want the user to type anything the user likes him. So I want to put the restrictions on the user now. I want to put the restriction, that is, so I want users to type only 11-digit number, it has to be typed. So then what we do is we define the max length property. So we have an attribute called max length, okay, which max length is equal to, I'm giving 10 there. So once I say max length is equal to 10, then what will happen? So here it will allow me to type in. So I'm typing 8, 9, I'm giving 1 again, I'm typing 2, I'm trying to type more numbers there. So it shows what it's not allowing me to type the more numbers, right? So I'm just able to type only 10-digit number I'm going to type in. So I cannot type more than that. That is what you call the max length I'm defining. So we have the attribute called max length. We have the attribute called size is going to be there. Now let's talk about them. So the attributes you're going to have it called max length I'm having it. So this specifies the maximum number of max number of characters, okay, or what do you call the numbers, okay, that can be typed in or filled in. So that is maximum character that you're going to tell it. Then we have the size attribute. What is the size attribute? The size attribute sets the size of the control. Okay, it sets the size of the control for me. So what should be the size? Either you want in a big size or a smaller size you want. If you want to have a smaller size, you can specify size equal to something, you can give it. So the size is going to decrease for me. Then we also have an attribute called read only. So what is this attribute called read only means? The name says read only. That means it will not allow the value to be changed. It will not allow the value of the control to be changed. Okay. It becomes read only, that you can see that you can, okay, but you cannot change anything there. That's what you call read only. Now we have enabled. So what is this enable? It will allow you to type something, select the controller. Okay, select or type something. Select and type. For example, let's take one example. Let us say this is okay, fine, everything is fine there. So we'll have one more control I will take. Okay, so where now let us say that you want to display, just I'm using this one only as an example thing, so nothing to worry. So here I want to make this one as a read only. I'll just say read only, right? I'm using an attribute called read only there. So once I'm using the attribute called read only, now you see that one more roll number is there. So this roll number, you cannot type anything. I'm trying to type something there. So I'm not able to type anything there. That means the data that is there in my control, that's only read only. You can just read what is there in it, but you cannot type, you cannot change anything into this one. And if you observe there, you see that the controls, you can select that. You'll see the text box, the bold, the rectangular box is going to be bold for you. So whichever you are selecting it, wherever the cursor is present, now you see that. So there what will happen, automatically you see the black border is going to be there. The border is going to be highlighted in which the control is present. If I'm selecting this one, you see now the border is going to be highlighted here. Now we have an attribute, what do you call it as enabled. Okay. I say it is disabled. Okay. So disabled means what? When I'm making it as disabled, let's see this. Now here I'm able to select it. Now here I'm not able to select this control. So why? This is not going to allow you to select also, right? So when I'm going to have the property as enabled there, so enable will help me to type and I mean it will help me to select something. But whereas when you say disabled, so when I say the control is disabled, it means user cannot select it. That means you cannot select, you are user, whoever it is, user cannot select the control. Okay, user cannot select the control for us. But whereas if I'm using it as enabled, you can select. Okay, so when I'm using read only, so that will not allow you to type something, but it will allow you to only select the control there. Okay, like that. So it depends upon, so with what is that you want to have it. So either you want the control to be enabled for the user, or you want the control to be disabled to the user, or you want to make the content to be only read only, or you want to allow the user to change the content what is there in my text box. It all depends upon your requirement. So how you are going to design it, so you can design the controls can be designed, right? Okay, so I just use them for your understanding purpose, but this is not required for me as far as my form is concerned. I don't want to have this one. Okay, so I'm defining the max length there. So max length is a property. Yeah, we have defined it. Okay, so max length is a property which is going to tell me what is the maximum number of characters that you are going to type in. So you want to have the maximum characters, 10 characters you want to have it, you can have the 10 characters or 12 characters, whatever you want, you can define it. We have another attribute that we use with this one. It's called pattern. Okay, so we have this attribute called pattern. The pattern is a property which defines the attribute which defines how what is the pattern of data, what is how the data should be. Okay, how the data is. Okay, or what is the pattern that you're going to follow. Okay, what is the pattern, or you can put the restrictions when you define the patterns, you can put the restrictions of data entry. So that means we can put the restrictions on the entry of data. Okay, the data what I am typing in, so I can put the restrictions on my data there. Okay, it's what you call the pattern there. Don't worry about the pattern part, we'll discuss about the pattern little later, we'll discuss. Okay, because we'll discuss all these things later, we'll talk about the patterns, right? Okay, right. Now okay, let me get back to this one. So what are the data that we want to collect it? So we want to collect the data from the user. One is hall ticket number, name, okay, gender. Okay, I want to collect the password. So password is the type of the field is password you are going to type. Okay, so right, let's see this. And the first we want to have, okay, we took the password. Now I want to have the gender part. So now I want the user to select the gender. So when I say that the gender has to be selected, so what we do is we'll be defining the input tag there. Okay, input tag will be defining. Then so we'll be giving the type there. So we'll be writing the type as radio. Okay, we'll be defining the type as radio there. So when I'm defining radio, this is going to define the radio button for us. Let's see, sorry, how to do this. I'm moving to this one, to Visual Code. Okay, so then I'll make a duplicate copy of this one. Then so here it is. I want gender. Okay, then so I want to give input type is equal to radio. I'm giving. Okay, size doesn't make a sense for me for to define what you call the size for the radio button. Why the size is not going to give any sense means because when you create the radio button, it's going to create one small circle, it will be creating it. The size doesn't make a sense there. Okay, I'm not using any. Now here I'm writing this is equal to gender, mean name is equal to gender, I'm giving it. So I want one more radio button to be created. So to create one more radio button, I'm using another radio button now there. So it's the same name. I'm using input type is equal to radio. Name is equal to gender only I'm giving. Before I explain anything more, let's see what is the output is going to be there for me. I'll refresh my page here. So when I refresh my page, you're going to see the gender. It is giving me one circle, the another circle it is giving me. Two circles are giving. So it will allow you to select one of them. So if I select one, the automatically the other one is getting deselected for me. But next to it, I want to give something like what you call male, female, like this. I want to give the messages. Now that messages, I'm giving it here, what you call male. The next one I want to give next to the another radio button, I want to give it as female. I'm just giving female. Save it. Let's go back to the browser and refresh the page. Now you see this radio button is there. Next to it, the message is male. This is one radio button. Next to it, the message is female for me. So this is what is happening here. I'll do one thing is I'll put them into next line. Now you see gender what we are given here. So that will be displayed as a message to the user. Then this part what we have done it, input type is equal to radio, name is equal to gender what we gave. So this is going to be creating me that small radio button is created for me. And next to that the message is printed called male there. Okay, similarly for the female also it's going to create the small radio button is created, and then we are going to give the text is female there. Now if you observe here, so what I'm doing is I'm giving name as gender here. Here also I'm giving name as gender. That means for these two radio buttons, what you call the gender, both for the type is equal to radio and type is equal to radio, for both these two, I'm using name as gender only there. Now what will happen if I'm going to use a different name there? Before that, if you ask me, can I use a different name? Yes, you can use a different name. So I'll use this one as gender 1. I'll make it up this is gender 2. Now you understand how the functionality is going to be different. Now for example, if I'm clicking on this, it's selecting for me. When I click this one also, it's selecting for me. Now you see both the radio buttons are getting selected for me. Okay, when I'm using two different names, if I'm using it. The same, if I'm using one name, if I'm using, that is for both. Okay, I'm using only one name. Then, and the same thing when I see this, now you see one I'm selecting it, other one also I'm selecting. Then what will happen? Automatically the both the one of them is getting selected and one of them other one is getting deselected for me. So why it is happening? Because we are going to use a same name. When I'm going to use the same name for a set of radio buttons, then what will happen? It will allow me to select only one radio button from that group. Okay, now here one has to know that in case of the radio buttons, when same name is used for a group, okay, or a group means here I mean a set, okay, a set of radio buttons, then what will happen? It will allow only one to be selected. It will allow only one control to be selected. Okay, now what happens if I'm using a different name? If I'm using different name, you can select multiple. Okay, for example, let us say I want to have two radio buttons, two group of radio buttons I want to have. So I want to have one is a group of radio buttons which representing the gender. Now I want to have one more group to be there, a group, okay, a group I want to have one more of payments. Now let us say that you are designing a screen where you want the user to type in the payments option has to be selected. Then what I do is for gender I'll use one group. Okay, for payments I'll use one more group. Here we want to work with the student data, but I'll just show you that, then I'll remove that. Okay, so for example, so if we are talking about the gender part here, now I want to have one more option there. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to have one more a group of radio buttons. Let us say that payment I'm going to talk about. This is only for the information set, not as a part of the student data it is. So now I'm typing input type is equal to radio. Now let us say I'm giving the name is equal to pay I'm using. Now let us say when you talk about the payment option, so I'm using the credit card. Okay, so then I want to have one is credit card, other one is debit card. This is also name is pay I'm using. Okay. Let me add one more option. I'm writing the internet banking. Okay, I'll just save this. Now let us see. Now here I'm having payment option, credit card, debit card, and internet banking. Now when I'm selecting the internet banking, okay, it is getting selected. Now when I'm trying to select the debit card, it is automatically deselecting the internet banking. Now here, if you look in, so these two is acting as one group, and these three is acting as in another group for us. Okay. So in gender, I want these two should be acting as one group, and then in payment options, these three I want to get in one group. So that is what we are going to do it. So when I talk about the radio buttons to be defined, okay, I'll just copy this example there. So for gender selection, I'm going to have one option, and then for the payment option, I'm using another group. I'm creating it. So I'm going to have a different name. For the group of payments, I'm going to have a different name. For a group of gender, I'm going to have one different name. That is, these two are given a name called gender, and these two are given a name called pay. These three are given a name pay for us, right? So when you want them to be grouped in different types, then you need to use the options. The name has to be changed. They'll be acting as one group. Group means what? So it will help me to select one among the group there. Okay. So automatically, if you are selecting one, the other one will automatically get selected for us. When it is, if I'm going to use the same name, if I'm trying to use different names, if I'm using it, they become a different groups. Okay. Right. Now we want to have the date type. Okay. Then what I want the user to type in the date of birth. I want to type. Okay. No, I don't want this payment mode. I don't want it. I'll just remove the payment mode. No. I want the user to enter the date of birth. So when the user has to enter the date of birth, so what I'm doing is I'm using input type. So okay, so date of birth, I want to have it. I'm defining the date of birth. So I want to have the input type there. So input, its type is equal to, we give it as date, right? So we give the type as date there, and I'm giving name is equal to DOB. I'm writing as a date of birth, right? Okay, you can control the size of it. So by defining the size attribute, you can use it. You can say size is equal to, okay, some 8 I'm giving it. It's going to control the size to 8 for me, like that. And we'll take the example and we'll see the output there. So for example, I want to get the email ID of the user. Then so email ID. So I want to get the email ID. So for email ID, I'm typing input type is equal to email. I'm giving it. Okay. So name is equal to, and then I'll say ed, I'll say, or any name you can use, email on. Okay, let me use the email itself. You can say email itself, or you can say EID. I mean it as email ID, like that. Okay, you can have it anything. Save it, and then refresh the page. Now you can see. So we are giving the date of birth here. So I gave input type is equal to date, right? So for that, what happened? Automatically is giving me the, so the date format is going to be given. Okay, or you just click on this calendar symbol. What you're going to see, so there it opens the calendar option for me. Then you can select the date values for you. Okay, I can select the date. So which date you want to select, you can select the date. Okay. Now you see that, okay, I just decrease the size. Then here you see that it's going to show me the date there. So I'm just, okay, clicking on that. It shows me the date and all this. Okay. So what you want to have it. Now let us say I want to have some previous date to be selected. Select the date. Okay. Month. Then you see that whatever you have selected the date will be shown here in the control there. Then email ID. So I'm trying to type the email ID. Okay. So something at the rate something.com there. So it gives me that. Okay. Like that. It'll allow me to type the email address. So what I've done is I've given the restrictions of 8 characters. I've given the restriction. No. You want to have slightly bigger, you want to have it, you can have the size is equal to 20, you can give it. Now you can see it's going to be there. Okay, like that. You can give the size there can be given. Okay. Yeah, that is something about your input type is equal to email. Now let us see one more information what we wanted it. I want to have the age. Okay, age or phone number I want to have it. Now I want to have the phone number next to it. You want to have phone number. So for that phone number, I'll say the input. This I want to have the mobile number. I want to have it or phone number, whatever you call it as. I want to have the mobile number. Then I'll say input type is equal to. I'll type this one as number I am giving. Okay, I'm giving input type is equal to number. Then what is the name that you want to have it? I want to have, okay, MNO, I'll give the name. So what is the size? I want to have the size restrictions to 8. I'll put the size restriction is equal to 8. And we know what is the maximum number of characters we have it for the mobile number. It is 10 for me. So what I'm doing, I'm giving the max length is equal to 10 there. And then now let us refresh the page and see. So now here what we did, we gave the mobile number is input type, we are given it as number. So it's not allowing me to type the alphabets. It's not allowing me to type the alphabets. Whereas for the student name here, we gave the input type is equal to text we are given. This allows me to type the alphabets and numbers, both it will allow me to type in. So that is the difference we have between the input type is equal to text and input type is equal to number. When I'm saying input type is equal to number there, it will not allow me to type the alphabets. Example, in this case, the mobile number. So I'm typing the alphabets, but it is not allowing me to show there. Okay, it's putting the restrictions for me that it will allow me to type only the numerical values there, not the alphabets there. Okay, in that case, we are going to use the input type is equal to number and you are going to define them. Then let's analyze what else we wanted. Okay, these are the things that we wanted to have it. Now here, generally when you talk about the forms, you might have seen, or let us say that you talk about the login form of your Gmail account. When I want to log in into my Gmail account, okay, then I open my website gmail.com, I'll be opening it, and then I type the user ID and I type the password, and then I click on the option what you call sign in. Now that sign in button, when I click in, so what happens internally, it is going to do the some calculations is going to do it, like that is it is going to take care of encryption part and all, it's going to take care. So when I want to have that, when I click on that button, I want to do something means, then we are going to define the types of buttons. Okay, we have the type of buttons what you call it as reset button, submit button, normal button. 3 different types of buttons are there. Based upon your requirement, you can define the different types. Let's see one by one. So when it says submit button, the name itself says that the submit button, it is going to submit the data what we are typed in the form to the server program. We'll discuss how to submit the data to the server program and a little later. Little later we'll discuss that. But remember, when I click on the submit button, so the data what we are typed in, that will be submitted to the server side program. Whereas when I'm using the reset button, so when I'm clicking or when I'm selecting the reset button, then it is going to clear the data that you are going to type in into your form. Whatever the data that is there in my form, the data is going to be cleared off. Okay, it will be resetting it to the original values or what we call the default values. Normal buttons, generally we don't use it in the form But we use that one, the normal buttons will be using it when you want some calculations or some kind of actions you want to do with, but the data should not be submitted to my server-side application. Let's see this. Now, I want to design a control. Okay, so where I want to define the input type is equal to reset. I'm giving it. Okay, generally we don't define the names, okay, for the input type, but what you call the reset button or the buttons, we don't define the names. If you want, you can define the name, no issues in that. Okay, we'll discuss what is the difference for defining the name and what is it when I'm not defining the name. We'll discuss that. Then here we'll be using the value property, value attribute will be using. Now let us say I've not used the value attribute, I have not used it. Okay, let us see what is going to happen and then we'll discuss that. Okay, I want to have one more table data, so I'm using input. So I'm defining type is equal to submit. I'm writing. Okay, now what I've done is I've not defined the name, I mean value, I've not defined anything. So I just given input type is equal to submit and input type is equal to reset I've given. Let's see what is going to happen for us. Now when I say refresh, okay, when I say the refresh, now you see that input type is equal to submit, the name is given as submit, the reset it has given the name as sub reset. I said what reset is something, so there you're going to define some value is going to be there. We said when you talk about the reset, what will happen is the data will be changed. What the initial data was there or whatever the data that you are changing, so that will be removed for us. Okay, let's say I'm typing some now. Now when I click on the reset, now you see observe there, the data that you have typed will be removed or it is going to be cleared for me when I'm talking, when I click on the reset button. Okay. What about the submit? No, okay. So let me explain you the submit. Observe there. Okay, I'm typing some name. I've typed some name. I'm typing some password. So some roll number I'm typing in. So then I'm typing, selecting the gender. Some date I've selected. Some email ID. Okay, some mobile number I've typed it. Okay. I'll just minimize this one. Okay. Now here, so this is the data that we have typed in the form. Once you type the data in the form, now you observe here on top the file name it is showing you. So what is my file name? It is c1.html is my file name. Okay, now when I click on the submit button, this submit button, when I click on, observe the difference here. Okay, I've not clicked on, I'll be clicking in. You see the observe the difference here on the top. Now whatever the data that you have typed here, Kiran, or whatever the roll number 342, all that, whatever the data that you have typed, now I'll click on the submit button. Then what happened? The data that you have typed, okay, what we gave the name here as Kiran we typed. You see that, so it is going to attach the data, whatever you have typed in, it is attached to the URL. So this is called the URL there. URL is what? It's a program which is going to be called for us, or it's a place where our resources are available for me. Now when I'm talking about this URL, so my HTML file itself is one URL there. So what happens? The data that I typed there, that I typed as what Kiran I typed in, that you're going to see it, the data is attached here. So how the data has been attached? The data has been attached after the URL. It is going to use the question mark, it is going to place, and then the data is going to be attached. Now what data that is going to be attached? Where you have typed this Kiran, the name Kiran, you have typed it in a control whose name is S name, right? And then we type password, something we have typed in the password. So where we have typed that 123, that 123 is typed in the control called PWD, whose name is given as PWD. Now for example, here roll number is there. Okay, what we have done, so internally in our program, so we have given the name for that one as RNO, and now the value are typed in that is 342, right? You are able to understand here. So whatever you are typing the data here, that data is sent to the URL, okay, that is to the Maybe it's right now it is an HTML program. In later part of the course, you'll be learning how to specify the server side program we'll be talking about. Okay, then so whatever that you are going to specify the server side program. Now the data that we are typed in the form, it is attached to the URL there, and it is sent to the along the URL itself. That is, you see that the name of the file and then question mark, and then you see all the data is going to be attached. Now remember the data that is being attached. So after one element there, that is my S name, it's equal to Kiran. The next element is PWD. Now that data is being separated with the ampersand symbol. You see the differences, you see that. So there is a separating character called the ampersand, so which is used as one, which is acting as a delimiter between one element value and the another element value. Okay, so all that, so whatever you are giving it, it's going to give it. Now for example, here if you observe that it is saying gender is equal to on, it is saying. Now why it is giving me gender is equal to on means because it is the way how we are design the control for us. I'm just coming back to the Visual Studio Code. Now when you talk about this gender here, we said input type is equal to radio, name only I have given, I have not defined the value, I have not given. So what I do is I'll say value is equal to M, I'm giving it. Okay, next to it there is male there. Now for this one female, so for the female, so what I'm doing, I'm giving value is equal to F, I have given it. Now let us see the difference there. Earlier we didn't give value is equal to M or F. Now I'm giving the value equal to M. Now I'm just repeat, I mean, okay. I'll type the data and now I'm selecting the data there. Now I'll just click on the submit button. You see now the data is attached. As we said, the data is attached there. Now let us see the difference. Now what is there? Now you see PWD. Okay, gender is equal to, why it is giving me on? You're not refreshed. Give me a minute. Why it's not giving? Okay, let me refresh my page. I'll just reload my page now. Okay, let me type in. I'm just giving some random data. Okay, so nothing specific about the data there. Then I'll click on submit now. I'm zooming in little more. Now you can see now it's giving me gender is equal to M, it's giving me here, right? So what I've done, I selected the male there. If I would have if I selected the female there, and then if I clicked on the submit button, you see now, so gender is equal to F, it is going to give it, right? It's going to give me gender equal to F. So it is not giving me any of these data, so like EID, mobile number and all, it's not giving me any data. It's going to be acting as a blank because I didn't type anything. Then I clicked on the submit button. Okay, so what happens now, the rest of the data is going to be blank for me. Only you see the data is what gender it is going to add for me, right? So that's how it's going to add the input type there. Okay, that is what the value property. And one more thing, let's see where exactly my value is going to be making a difference for me. For example, here I'm having input type is equal to reset is there. Now if you look into the output, in the output is going to give me it's a reset button. Now I don't want to give the value there, the information as reset. Bhavana, I can switch off your video.
Sorry.
Okay, so what you do is here I'm using value is equal to, then single quotes I'm using it, and then I say clear data. Okay, I'm giving value is equal to clear data. Now if you look into the output there and if you refresh it, now you see that here it's going to give me the message as clear data, it's going to give me the message like that. So I want to have for the submit button, I want to have this sign in or save data, something like that I want to have it. So then for the submit button, okay, for the submit button, so I want to have value I want to give it. I'll give value is equal to, okay, let us say save data. Okay, now let me save and then come back and then now refresh. Now you see that it's going to give me the message as save data here. Understood? Like that. So this value property, what you call the value attribute or the property, it will help me to change the way how the information is going to be displayed for me. And similarly, we can make the value properties with these one also, like with the S name and all that also I can give it. Now, if I'm giving value is equal to something, if I'm giving like I'm giving ASDF, I gave the value is equal to ASDF for the name there. And when I'm refreshing it, you see that the value what we gave that is displayed here. Okay, the value is going to be displayed. Now I need to remove it and then I have to start typing in. So that's why generally we'll not be using the value property is not going to be set for the text boxes and all that. Okay, understood here? So how we are going to use the value property? So value property, so it will be helpful for you when you are going to work with um, the input types is equal to maybe it's a radio button or your check boxes are there. In such a case, we'll be using them, right? Okay, like that. Understood here now what I told you. So any questions over here now? Till now, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll continue for another 10 minutes. I'll continue. I'll just finish up these controls today.
Okay, sir.
So you don't have any problem, right? Tomorrow we'll not be having class. Friday,
Okay,
tomorrow
sir.
it is.
Okay, sir. No problem.
Okay. So I'll take another 10-20 minutes. I'll just finish up this form design.
Okay, sir.
Right. Then, okay. Now here, when I'm talking about the student name, I'm not given any controls. I'm not using it. I'm just trying to use a plain text there. We have one control, what you call label control. We are having it. So we have a control called label. Okay. Just when I want to have some plain text to be displayed, so then we use a control called label. We'll be using it. So let me take this example. Okay, that is plain text I want to have it. Okay, student name I want to display. For that, I'm writing here what is called label. Label student name. I'm just giving it. Right, save it. Now you see. So when I'm refreshing it, now you see only the student name. It's a plain text is going to be displayed for me like this. Okay. Now, so we have another set of controls are there. Like for example, we said different types of controls we talked about. So one among the type of control we have is what you call checkbox. So we have a control called checkbox. So this control, what you call a checkbox, it will help me to, it will help the user to select multiple, to select the multiple options. Okay, it will help the user to select the multiple options. Whereas when you talk about the radio button, so it will help me to select only one option from the given set of options. But whereas when you talk about checkboxes, it will help me to select multiple options there. Now comes a question, where do we use these checkboxes? Now remember, checkboxes can be used anywhere, wherever you want it, you can use it, provided there you have the multiple options to be selected. For example, let us say you are going to talk about the hobbies there. So when you talk about the hobbies, generally what will happen, the users will have more than one hobby will be there, right? The users will have more than one hobby. Maybe you may be talking about the reading books. Okay, reading books is one of the hobby. Or let us say that you're going to watch the TV. Okay, watching the TV. Okay, watching the TV is one of your hobby, right? Reading books. Okay, like the different hobbies you're going to have it, right? Like this, you have the hobbies are there. Now then, so generally when we talk about the hobbies, we have more than one hobby. Or let us say that I want to know what are the spoken languages you know, right? I want to know whatever the spoken languages you know. So like for example, you may be knowing the language like Telugu, okay, Hindi, Marathi, okay, or you may be knowing a language like Kannada, okay. Tamil, or something like that. So when you talk about this, you know more than one language, you know it. Then what I do is I'll define the checkbox. Okay, how we'll see the one checkbox example. Now, okay, after the mobile, before the mobile number itself, I want to read them. Okay, now, so I'm using a TR, I'm using it, TD, I'm using. Then I want to read, know the spoken languages, spoken, LANG, I'm giving it. Then, so next to it, I want to have the text boxes, mean, sorry, the check boxes has to be defined. I'll say input. So the it's a type is equal to checkbox. Okay, then I'm going to define the value there. Now remember, when I'm going to define the value it's going to it's a property which is going to specify the value what it has to be given to the server side application when it is selected. Okay, then I'm reading value is equal to tell, and then I'm using name here. Name is equal to lang, I'm writing. Okay, now if I'm defining this alone there, okay, let us see. 1 minute, I not define the table data there. Okay, so here, okay, so I'm closing my table data there. So let us see the what is the output you're going to get. See, I've given it a spoken languages. Only this checkbox will be selected. You click on it, it gets selected. Again, you click, it does get it selected for me. Now, I want to give some message next to it. Okay, after the checkbox, I want to give it as, let's say, Telugu. I want to give it. So I'm placing Telugu there. I'll refresh. Now you see it's going to show me Telugu there. Understood? Like that. Now you want one more, you want to give it. Okay, you can also give one more there. So for example, I want to have one more radio button, I mean one more checkbox to be created. So I want to have one more checkbox with the name as KN I will take. So the message I want to show it as Kannada there. Let's say one more you want to have it called Tamil. Okay, I'll write TAM. I'll save it. Then you say refresh the page. So you see that Kannada, Tamil, all this are going to come for you. Now here you can select more than one can be selected. So when I want something to be selected more than one, the options you want to select more than one, then you're going to use the check boxes you're going to use. If you want only one option to be selected, then you'll be using the radio buttons. Okay, like that. So now if you ask me, right, uh, for the checkbox, for the radio buttons, we use the same name. And now for the checkboxes also, we are going to use the same name. Now, is there any difference between using the same name or a different name you are using? Yes, we have a differences are there. For the radio buttons, I'm using a same name, then it is going to be acting as one group and it will be selecting me, it will be getting me the information what you have selected. So if I'm giving different names, they'll be acting as different groups, which will allow me to have the different selections can be done. So whereas when I talk about the check boxes, so let us discuss this, how I'm selecting these three check boxes and then I'm clicking on the submit data, the save data. So let us see how the data has been submitted. Which one we are talking about? The language here. So now you can see lang is there is equal to tell ampersand language is equal to Kannada, okay, language is equal to this one. See, I given the same name I have used. So what is happening? It is going to give me the same name here. lang is equal to tell, lang is equal to kn, lang is equal to tamages, right? We see more differences. Like we have the way how we are going to retrieve the data at the server side program is going to be slightly different here. Okay. Actually, we say it will be acting like an array now. So where only one variable, I'm having multiple values are going to be there. So one variable with multiple values means they are called the arrays. If I'm having different variables with only one value, then they are not called the arrays for us. Understood? When you're talking about the checkboxes, we can have different names can be used. If I'm using different names, one variable will be given with one value. If I'm using same name for all the multiple checkboxes, then what will happen? It'll be forming like a group, and then that will be submitted to the server-side program. Okay, nothing to worry. We'll talk more about that one when you're talking about the when you're going to learn the server-side programming. You're going to learn, right? Okay, understood here. So the way how we have done the designing work and all this. Okay. Now we said we have another type of control is going to be there. So what you call a combo box, we have it, or we have the list boxes are there. Now how we define this combo box, or how we define this list box means when I want to define them. So I want to define the combo box, or I want to define a list box. Then when I want to define them, so we have a tag is available called select tag. We have a tag called select tag is going to be there, right? For example, I want to define a combo box with the options now. Okay, so I want to define a combo that is a drop down. Okay, combo or called the drop down. Okay, sorry, combo or a drop down with the options. Okay, so with the options. Now what are the options that I want to have for my combo? Okay, so let us see this. What are the options that I want to have? Now the same one what I'm having the checkboxes, but we are used it, sorry, for the radio button what we are used, I want to use it here. So what are the options that I want to have? Okay, now I have used the options like combo box. I have, sorry, the payment options I have used it. Same thing I want to have it. I want to have a radio button, sorry, a combo box has to be displayed with the options. Okay, letter payment types I want to have it, like what you call it's debit card. I'll say right DC or DBR, right? Debit card, credit card, okay, and then internet banking. So these three options I want to have it in my checkbox. Sorry, in my combo. Then how I'm going to define it? We'll discuss that. We'll remove this one because this is not the part of it. So we'll not be talking about that one. So I'll use a TR, TD, okay. Then I want to use a label there, okay, payments. So payment options. I want to create a radio button to be created. So what I'm doing, I'll use a TD tag there. Then I'm going to use a tag called select tag. We are going to use it. Select. Okay, you can define the name. Name is equal to pay. I'm defining it. Okay. Then options I want to have it. So what the options? Option. So I'll be writing value is equal to DB. Okay, it's a debit card for me. Then outside the angle brackets, I'll write the debit card. Now what you're writing it here in the debit, the outside the option there, or you're opening the option tag and then you're closing the option tag there. In between you're writing debit card, right? The debit card will be displayed to the user. Now I want to have one more option called credit card, right? So I want to use it as CR there. I want to have one more option called internet banking. I want to have it. So it's internet banking. I'll save this, go back to my screen, refresh. Now you can see this is what you're talking about as a radio combo box or a drop down. Now click here, you see that debit card, okay, credit card and internet banking. The options have been added here. So what we did, so we have defined the option here. Option value is equal to something, right? So that is going to create the options for me. Understood? So this is not required as a part of my application. So I'll remove this one. I'll just put it here itself. Okay. Right. That's how we are defined the a combo box there. Similarly, we have an option, the same options, everything is going to be there. So here we say this size is equal to some value I'll be giving it. So you understood now? What I have done is I have given size equal to something. When I give size equal to something, you see that the list will be open for you. You'll see the list is going to be open. You can select anything from this one, okay, like this. Understood? So for a list control, what we are doing is we are going to use only the select tag with the size option you're writing. So I'm writing size equal to 4 or something like this. Then what will happen? The list will be opened, okay, like that. Now, when you talk about the combo box, remember we use a combo box as a replacement. It's a replacement for radios. Okay, how about the list control? We'll be using the list controls. These are the as a replacement for checkbox. Now, can you tell me what is the checkbox and radio button? Checkbox will allow the user to select multiple. Radio buttons will allow the user to select only one. Now, if you look in there, okay, if I'm defining it as a combo box, you'll see that it's going to be drop down will be there. I'll do one thing. I'll just use them. Same thing. I'll use it. I'll use both there so that we can understand the differences between them. I'm using this one. So I'm writing one more. I'm using it. Okay. The one more is I'm removing the options. The size option, I'm removing it. Let's refresh it. Now you see, this is my combo box. I'm selecting one. This is my list box. I'm selecting one. If I'm selecting the other one, automatically the other one is getting deselected for me, right? I've selected the debit card. Now, when I click on the internet banking, automatically it is getting deselected. But whereas when I talk about the checkbox, you see, I'm selecting one, the other one also is selecting for me. But here the selection is not being done here. Okay, right? Then, so how to do this one? So you just find out and let me know. So, okay, what is it for you? To find out something for you now. So what is that you need to find out is to find something. So what is that you need to find the something here is, so how to select multiple options from a list control. Okay, how to select multiple options from a list control. That is what you need to find out, right? Okay. Now, when I talk about this, the control design, we have one more attribute is there called placeholder. Okay, we have one more attribute is there called title. Okay, we have two more attributes are there for the input control. So what do you call the placeholder and title. Now, along with this one, you have to find out what is the use of these two attributes. One is called the placeholder and one more is called title. And we also have an attribute called for. Okay, we have the attribute called for is there. So you need to find out what is the use of this attribute called for in the your input tag and all that. Okay, input tag and label tag, we are having it. You need to find out what is the use of this, right? You're able to follow what are the things that you need to find out. So you need to find out something. So how to select the multiple options from a list control, and what is the use of placeholder, title, and other one is for attribute. Okay, these things you have to find out. I'll add one more thing for you. So we have what you call legend is there. Then what is that? You need to find out what is that legend. Okay, we have one tag what you call legend tag is there, and then it is field set is there. So these tags I want you to find out, right? So use of placeholder, title, for, legend, and field set. This you need to find out. Okay. So find out them. We'll discuss more on the next class. We'll discuss.